Right. Hi, my name's David Robinson. I am the chair of a community group where we provide boxing sessions for young kids in our community. That was set up through Rotherford and really got going just in time for the lockdown to hit. And since then, we've not been able to do any in-person sessions. We've had to adjust to the lockdown by providing some sessions online. So I've been, when I can, when my job doesn't get in the way, I've been getting my PE kit on in the living room and just doing some boxing sessions for them to follow on YouTube. It's been quite a difficult adjustment, and it takes a lot more motivation. It takes a lot more planning. The thing is as well, I've not got the biggest house, so I'm stuck in the living room with, right there is the window to the main street in Dinnington. So I'll be doing my starter jumps in the living room, watching my neighbours walk past, nosing a little bit. I've got the windows open because it gets so hot, so they can hear me shouting, come on, let's get going, all that sort of thing. So yeah, that's been a big adjustment. I do enjoy doing the videos, but also I work as a teaching assistant for a school in Sheffield. And obviously I've been working from home, and one of the things I've been doing for them is I've been doing small 10-minute PE lessons for them as well. So a lot of what I was doing before lockdown has turned into me doing star jumps and squats and sit-ups in the living room to a camera and sending it out to different people. So yeah, like I say, big adjustment, but I have really enjoyed it, and I've heard a lot of positive feedback, so I think it's been a good thing. Personally, I've been having good days and bad days with lockdown. When it first came, to be honest, I was quite, it sounds bad, but personally I was quite thankful, just because a lot has changed over my life in the last year, and I got a full-time job as a teaching assistant, and I was having to take public transport to and from work, and I was getting very tired. So when I was told that we're going to have some time off, I was like, yes. I can do all my work from home, I can get some sleep, I can recuperate, and then in 2 weeks, back to it. Obviously that is not what happened, and it's taken a lot to adjust to having to stay in every day. I've been focusing on work, so these last couple of weeks I've really been waking up at a certain time, just getting on with trying to get as close to 8 hours of work a day in, just there's something to do. I've watched everything there is to watch on Netflix. I've walked all of the countryside walks nearby enough, that I'm bored of it. So now, rather than doing things that are keeping my mind occupied, I've just been getting up and just treating it like this is my job, that this is my office, so to speak. And my family's been very supportive, letting me do that. Not getting in my way, not telling me to do stuff. They've just been respecting that that's what I've got to do. We've also been doing a lot of gardening. Our garden for the last 10 years hasn't looked the best. I live at home with my parents, so obviously they had a nice garden, then they had us, and the garden slowly got worse and worse. So this has been the biggest stretch of time we've ever had, just to get out there and try and make it look nice, and that's what we've been doing. The garden looks like amazing now, and that I think I'll be thankful and grateful for years to come, because I'm this time next year it's still going to look nice, because it's just maintaining it now. The big chunk of work that we would have had to spend weekends for half of a year doing, we managed to do in like 2 weeks. So that's been really good. And now I sit out in the garden. I've been getting to know the birds who live around here. There's this one sparrow. This sounds silly to say, but it's really been getting me through the days. There's this one sparrow who comes right down to my feet whenever I walk out there, and ask for food. So I'll feed it, and I'll sit out there in the morning with my coffee, eating my breakfast, and me and this sparrow is going to eat breakfast together. And I know it sounds silly, but that's just been getting me through the days. Really has. That's actually the next question. What's getting you through the days? So routine. That's what I've written down as a big one. I get up at 8 o'clock. I have to do a staff meeting for work at 8:30, and then I'll have breakfast, I'll have my coffee, I might sit outside, see that little sparrow, then come inside and get cracking with a solid 2 or 3 hours of work, whether it's doing the PE videos for the class, if I can get my time to do the boxing sessions for the community group, or just a little task that they assign me from work. I just chip away at them. My dad, he's a caretaker at a school in my hometown, and he works a split shift, so he does his morning shift and then an afternoon shift. So that works really well to keep in my routine, because he'll come in at a specific time in the morning, we have some time together, he goes at a specific time in the afternoon. That keeps me in mind what time of the day it is, which isn't something I ever had to worry about before. Literally no time in my life have I not known what time of day it is until now. And now it can be a Wednesday and it feels like a Saturday, or it's 3 in the afternoon and it feels like 11 in the morning. You know, I really have to keep myself in check regarding that. And then most Saturdays, me and my dad will get up at around 5 in the morning, just go a long walk in the countryside. We see nobody really. We take a couple of our dogs, we take a camera, do some bird watching, have a picnic. It's the kind of stuff we used to do when I was a kid in the summer holidays, and it's really quite nice to feel like that again, and to have these long conversations about life, about the future, about our past. It's like almost getting to know my family again. And then on Sundays we'll watch a bit of UFC, which is nice. It's something to get excited about, something to break up the week, make Sundays feel really different. And that's just making it so I feel like, even though lockdown came in place and shook everything up, I've got a job that I do from 9 till 5 every day of the week. Then on Saturdays I get some exercise, and on Sundays we have a lazy morning. It's what a week felt like when I was working before lockdown, and it's taken me about 2.5 months to get into that kind of routine, but it's now fine. Everything's a lot more bearable. Do you think lockdown has had an effect on mental health? Absolutely. It's had a massive impact on my mental health. When I was at university, I went through a lot of mental health issues. I ended up taking a gap year from university. I had a big struggle, and I don't think that's a unique struggle. So many people go through the same thing. But I finally got my head straight. I got this job. I was only doing the teaching assistant work for 3 months before lockdown. For 3 months I've been doing the boxing sessions. I was like chairing a community group. I was teaching boxing. I was a teaching assistant. I was being told that there's a route for me to become a teacher, and then lockdown came in, and all of a sudden I'm none of those things. I'm waking up, twiddling my thumbs, and going back to bed. I'm really grateful that my school has kept pushing me, not in a bad way, in a very, very supportive way, to be doing my work. We're being told that the kids at the school rely on us, and that makes me feel like I have a purpose, and that's really, really good. But that being said, it's been a real chore. I've had to get in touch with the Rotherham IAPT service to get a little bit of counselling support on the phone. So every 2 weeks I get a phone call on a Wednesday, and I speak to a counsellor who just asks me how I'm doing, gives me some advice on how to feel more like myself. And I can't, again, that's something I can't express how grateful I am enough, because it has completely changed how this lockdown has been for me. Because if I didn't have these certain things in my life, if I didn't have the boxing group, if I didn't have the teaching, the school, if I didn't have this support, and if I didn't have my family around, I don't know how this would have gone for me. And thinking about it is quite scary, really. So I think that lockdown has had a massive effect on mental health, a lasting effect on mental health. I think it's going to take at least a year until I am mentally where I was at the beginning of March this year. And that's fine. That's something that a lot of people are going through, and I've got support. I just hope that everyone else who's going through the same thing has got support as well. And if they don't, they seek it, because you can't do it alone. The main reason for the effect on my mental health is because I had all these plans for the future. I was about to start driving lessons. We were going to be booking holidays. All of these things just came to a stop. I was thinking about places abroad that I could go. That seems like, just unrealistic now. As for the driving lessons, I know that driving schools are getting back to it, so I'm hoping that within the next couple of months I can be in a car with somebody, I can be learning how to drive, I can be getting a driver's license, and that will make me feel like I'm planning for my future again. And that's the only thing I can do to stay sane, really. What are you missing most? I'm missing the fact that almost every weekend I'd be going out with my fiance, shopping or walking. We were going to, we stayed in Castleton. We've stayed, we love going out. We love spending time together, doing just anything. It doesn't matter if it's the cinema, if it's a meal, if it's walking. We don't have to spend a lot of money. We just like going out. We are going out around, the countryside near here, because it's a small town in the middle of nowhere. So we've got a lot of places we can go. But it's not the same. Just walking down the lanes, you don't feel like you've got anywhere to go, and it's the same every time. So we just really miss going out and spending time together. And I know that certain places are open and buses are running, but that's a risk. It's a calculated risk. That's a hard risk to take when it's your health and other people's health over having something to do for the day. It's a tough one to add up. So I really miss that. The first thing I'm going to do when it's over, I'm going to start my driving lessons. I'm going to book a holiday, and I'm going to go back to a gym or something like that where I can, because I've been doing all these exercises in the living room. It's just driving me crazy. I want to do other things. I don't care what it is. I just want to go out and feel like I'm moving, feel like I'm bettering myself in some area, feeling like I'm pushing towards an adult life that's kind of almost been taken away from it. It's like I've been reverted back to a teenager in a strange way because of this. And I know a lot of people have had to move back in with their parents. It's tough. It's really, really hard to get your head around that this is out of your control. You feel like if you're going somewhere and you're pushing forward with life, and you have to go back to not going out to work and not having anything to get up for in the morning, you feel like it's your fault, but it's not. There's nothing that I could have done to prevent this, and I can only look at the small positives that have come out of this. What surprised you most about the community? One thing that's really, really surprised me is that generally when I was walking around town before lockdown, if I bumped into someone that I knew, we'd have a hi and bye, smile, a little chat maybe. But now it's almost everyone I see. Strangers are waving and smiling, having a chat with me over the road, talking about the weather, talking about what they've been doing, what they miss. It's like everyone's my friend all of a sudden, and that is great. I hope that stays. I hope that after lockdown we can go over and bump into these people and shake each other's hands, or really, really stop and have a proper chat rather than having to shout over the road. That's a really good thing about the community. It's kind of brought us together, even though it's pushed us apart, and that's just a good thing. If I was to take one lesson from lockdown, it would be to appreciate what you've got when you've got it. And I know that sounds extremely cheesy, but I look back and I think of all the things I could have been doing in January, February, March that I didn't. And I can't really blame myself for not, because I was busy anyway, and you don't just want to be spending your money as quick as you've got it. But now I look back and I think it's been X months, number of months since I had a McDonald's. It's been X number of months since I went to the cinema, and I just think of all the things I could have been doing that now it seems like I can't for a long time. I've written down here something that I think is a good little bit of advice that I'm going to try and take with me. Is don't live like you are in lockdown. You know, when you're not in lockdown anymore, don't ever spend another day where you do just the stuff that you would have done in lockdown. You know, if I spend a day where I don't, you know, when lockdown's over, if I spend a day where I don't speak to another person, or I don't leave the house, or I don't do some sort of exercise, or take the dogs out, or spend quality time, you know, I regret it, because we've now had enough days of doing nothing to last us the rest of our lives. It's like, I saw someone else posted on Twitter, you know, we've always wondered what a month of Sundays look like. Now we've had about 3 of them. So I think when this is all over and there aren't any more restrictions, I need to make the most of not having any of those restrictions. What have I learned about myself? This is a funny one, because before lockdown, I really, really appreciated the job that I'd got as a teaching assistant. Every single day, I appreciated it. I appreciated seeing the kids making an impact on their lives, because to be honest with you, there was a big chunk of my life where I never thought I'd get a job like that. I never thought I'd have a job where I'm impacting people on a daily basis, and I get to actually see the good I'm doing. And it's not like I was a miracle worker, but all I mean is there's a big difference when you go from the kind of work I'd had before into this kind of work, where I really start to value myself. And I never really thought about it in as simple a way, but this has taught me that I love my job. I absolutely love what I do for a living, and I can't ever take it for granted. And I don't think I ever will, because this was my first ever year group. Instead of getting a full year with these kids, I've got 3 months, and they were year 6, so I won't see them again, unless they come and visit, you know, in the future. But I won't get to see them to their SATs. I won't get to do a leavers do for them or anything like that. And I'll always look back at my first experience of teaching as just a brief moment, and then it was taken away. So I really learned how much I love what I do, and I think that is going to be a driver for me in the future. When I get back to doing my job day in and day out, I'm going to just think like something like this could happen at any moment without you knowing. Right, moving on. The next question is, how can we do things better for residents? I don't know whether that means we as in what can Rotherford and places like that, or we as in just everybody. But I'm going to take it as that. I think we all need to look out for each other. We need to ask each other for favours, ask each other for help, ask each other if we need help. And we need to spend time with people, even if you don't know them too well. You know, I walked down the street the other day, and there's some houses that a lot of old age pensioners live in, and I just saw like a teenager sat leaning on the fence speaking across the garden, an old lady who was in a porch, and they were just spending time just talking. And I thought, that's only happening because of lockdown. That needs to happen all the time, and not just if they're family. You know, people need to be checked in on, and people need to be. We can't let people be lonely, and we can't let people be bored all the time and feel unappreciated. Every one of us can, you know, make a difference in that sense. And I think that after this lockdown, we'll just want to do that more. We'll think like, oh, I wonder how so-and-so's doing. I think I'll, you know, rather than thinking, oh, I want me time this weekend, I want to spend a weekend by myself, watching TV, doing nothing. That's something that people thought was an option before, but now that's all we've ever had time to do for the past however many weeks. So I think that's a massive one, to to think this weekend I'm going to go and see a friend I've not seen in a while, or I'm going to go and spend time with a family member I've not seen in a while, or even just to ring a colleague or something like that. We just need to look out for each other. We just need to make sure everyone's okay. And I think that's a big thing to take from this lockdown. And I think that I'm going to be grateful for the fact that the lockdown has given me time to reflect who I am as a person, what makes me motivated and what makes me not motivated at all. I really got a better sense of those two things, and I think that when this is all said and done, I'm just going to always live with a little bit of fear that this could happen again, and I think a lot of us will, and we can't let that fear control us and make us not do things. We need that fear to push us and make us do more and make us live a better life. And if we can do that, then maybe it's not all for nothing. Right, thank you.